I'm Maddie Brewer, and I'm having the most fun out here doing it for the girls and gays. Experimentation with technique, really unique and fun. Have fun every day. Making this like really, really fun thing. Doing what I think is fun and cool. I think it was kind of fun.
And I think it's so fun.
Fun and complicated and strange.
It's really fun, in other words.
You need to go out and do something fun. Make it fun.
Yeah.
And if it's not fun, there's no point in doing it. Guys, this was so fun. This was the most fun.
Welcome to Most Fun Podcast, a really cool show where we talk a lot about cool stuff.
I'm Tabitha Fisher, the queen of female badassery.
The queen is back.
The queen.
And I'm Spencer Moreland, always on time.
Yeah, you're very punctual.
Yeah.
What's your philosophy? How do you get everywhere on time and do everything on time?
Love talking about this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is your favorite. Like, as a fan of Tenet, like the concept of time and how to bend it and manipulate it. Yeah. Totally your jam.
I've always had instincts about the future. For me, the simple rule is plan to be early. And then if you're a bit late, you're on time.
Love that.
Yeah.
But how early, Spencer? That's what the fans
So
want
sometimes
to know.
if it's a new situation, I can overcompensate on that.
Yeah.
So for example, the first day I was teaching, I was there almost 2 hours before my class started.
Right.
Yeah. But I think standard is like 15-minute buffers are good.
Like if you're not there 15 minutes ahead of time, you're late.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
great.
When it's not as like class has to start at a certain time and they're expecting me and it doesn't start without me. Other things where it's like just meeting up with friends and stuff where it won't be as much of a problem if I'm 5 or 10 minutes late. 15 minutes ahead, always on time.
Yeah. Also for your deadlines too, which students listening.
Yes. The reason I do this is because I hate the feeling of knowing I'm going to be late.
Oh yeah. It's icky. Yeah.
So the queen is back. This time, the queen of badassery.
This time I'm a badass queen because I'm inspired by Maddie Brewer after our talk about dominating as a woman. And you'll hear her philosophy on this in our conversation. Just a way to take control over your creative life and just really commit to who you are as a person. It's just so inspiring.
Yeah, the confidence is infectious.
That's right. And I basically just want to be the queen of that. Like, I mean, maybe I'm like the petite princess of that because I think she's actually the queen of that, but I aspire to be the queen of that. So let me just, I'll adjust and say I'm the aspirational queen. I'm the queen in training of female badassery because Maddie Brewer is the queen of badassery.
The lady in waiting?
Oh, I like that.
The lady in waiting of badassery.
Yeah, amazing.
And Maddie's the queen. We're going to hear from her in the episode, but before we jump into it, we're going to do our pre-cap chit-chat where we'll both share our takeaways from the episode. We spoke to Maddie at the Ottawa Animation Festival back in 2025, so that was September.
Yeah.
So we've had a little bit of time to digest and reflect.
Reflect on the cool outfits that all of us were wearing. She had the cutest beret on.
Yeah, we all looked really cool.
Yeah. Now,
She mogged us a little bit.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
With her Quebecois chic.
Yeah, she was dressed Quebecois chic, and it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. I love it so much.
Definitely a fashion icon that day. Mm-hmm. Also had a lot of really interesting things to say about animation. And now that we've had some time to think about that, we have our takeaways, and Tab, why don't you take it away?
Oh, there were so many great elements of the conversation, but what connected with me is the idea that you shouldn't be trying to pitch your work or conform your ideas to somebody else's expectations. And just the conviction of her vision is so refreshing. We don't get to see that a lot from female creators in particular. And she, does get into that topic. And she talks about all of the factors that contribute to that lack of visibility for female creators. Some of it has to do with this expectation that we should be modifying our ideas based on trends and things. And where the future of animation is truly going, and I think, honestly, this is without any doubt, is the creator-driven model. that's where we're headed. And so we need to start exercising that muscle as creatives, even if it feels a little bit uncomfortable to be so assertive. And I found it very inspirational to hear from a woman in particular who really doesn't apologize for having a very direct and clear point of view. So that was my takeaway.
Cool. So mine kind of rides on the tail of that. There were a lot of interesting things that came up in this conversation. But for me, the takeaway, what it boils down to is that original voices in animation, in television specifically, require both people who had that committed confidence in their vision, but they also require people on the other side who understand that. And the two can meet in the middle. They're looking for something original, but the person with the original voice is also presenting the material and the marketing and production part of it with an extension of that vision.
Yes, right.
And Maddie really gets that part of it.
Yes.
I think that's kind of her secret weapon. And it ties back around to the beginning of what you said. Don't compromise on your vision, because then you're not going to draw the people who understand your vision and help you execute it.
That's right. Yes.
And Maddie's someone who's learned that by doing it. And this commitment to just being uncompromisingly herself in her work and how she presents herself has brought the people who want to help her reach her audience.
Maddie Brewer is an artist, writer, and creator based in LA with a distinctive creative voice. She is part of a new wave of indie animation creators whose fierce defiance of the status quo is carving a new creative path for the industry. In 2025, Maddie premiered her Adult Swim web series, Chips, about a badass bombshell who brings a violent and bloody end to any man who dares stand in her way, and doing so while looking sexy as hell. Drawing inspiration from queer culture and the contemporary feminist movement, Maddie reimagines the female revenge fantasy as a witty and delightfully raw expression of her creativity that feels undeniably punk rock.
I think for a long time in the US, for animation that was aimed towards adults, it was kind of like stuck in this sort of sitcom format. And all of that stuff is great, but there's just like so much room to do so much within animation. And I think it's cool to see people start to like break out of convention, even within the pipeline of things. You know, I think for a really long time, it was kind of conventional knowledge that if you were going to make a TV show, it is going to be done puppeted. And so much stuff is done puppeted now. And there are examples of shows that use that to their advantage and just have this amazing level of artistry, like BoJack Horseman, for example. But I think that it can be limiting. For me, coming into TV as somebody that animates all of my own shorts and animates all of my own work, I'm very cognizant of the fact that it is very doable to do like really experimental, interesting hand-drawn animation, straight ahead animation, experimentation with technique, and do it quickly and do it like relatively inexpensively. And so I think that there's been this sort of challenging of the conventional knowledge, like, oh, if you're going to do like a TV production, like it has to be digital.
Right. So you hit on something I actually wanted to ask you about, because like your process is you animate everything yourself and you have a very like signature style. And to upscale that to a full series, have you had experience with that so far where you have worked with someone and gotten them to match what you're doing? And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've done like music videos and like smaller shorts projects where I've had assistants help me do in-betweening and color work, and I've had them design the background. And it does take a little bit of time. There's like a hump for people to get over with the way that I draw because my line is so jagged.
Yeah.
And so the reason that I started doing it like that is that in Flash, of course, you have this vector pen. There's this Flash look to a lot of animation.
Try to add a texture to the line. That looks
it's the
phony.
Smoothing. There's a way that it smooths the line.
Yeah. So I turn the stabilization all the way off. And then I go in and I'm doing this jagged back and forth. I'm using a pencil because when I was in school, I was animating all on paper. So all of my early films are this really dark 8B charcoal pencil on paper. So that's how I ended up working in Flash with this sort of like jagged line. I was trying to figure out a way that I could economically emulate that.
So for your thesis film, Chaos God?
Oh, God of Chaos.
Yeah, the God of Chaos. Was any of that like drawn on paper? Was that?
Yes. Yes. So it's mostly in Flash. then there is this sequence in the film where they end up going up into space,
Right.
and there's this straight ahead morph sequence. So I feel like in a lot of my work in God of Chaos and a lot of the shorts that I've made for Adult Swim, I love doing these sort of like
There's a
straight ahead
hallucination.
shots. Yes,
Yeah,
a hallucination,
Yeah.
morph, crazy,
Yeah.
just like allowing myself the freedom to just like totally morph. And that was all pencil on paper, and a lot of the backgrounds in it are shot on a down shooter, painted backgrounds that I'm like changing the painting and then crumpling it and then getting a new painting and then crumpling it, and gives this textural element. I have that in some of my other more recent shorts too, with photo collage and other textures. I built this down shooter in my garage out of stuff from Home Depot. I actually made a video for Bento Box about how to build a down shooter with my friend Lindsay DeMars. Shouts out Lindsay, that you can watch on YouTube if you guys want to learn how to economically build a down shooter. I actually also, when I was working on my thesis, got carpal tunnel and tendonitis in my right hand at the same time. And so a lot of it is also animated with my left hand, the stuff that's on paper and is painted. And so I guess it's one of those things where it's like unfortunate that I was having like a repetitive use injury. It kind of like led me to this place where I was doing something more interesting with like experimental like techniques, because I was using my left hand in traditional media and taking a break from the Cintiq.
Oh, so you switched to your left hand to draw for something?
I couldn't close my right hand.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's severe.
The film is about this child character, and so it sort of added to like the childlike quality of the drawings that I was animating with my left hand for a lot of the more like pencil and paper or paint on paper shots. I think that there's a lot of room to play around with stuff like that in animation. I remember when I first moved to LA, I was working on my friend Victoria Vincent's project that she was working with at Bento Box at the time, and we were drawing backgrounds, and we were doing all of them on paper. Like we'd do a sketch on the computer, print it out, and then do like a graphite rendering of whatever the background was
that's cool.
on like a light table. And it just felt so good to be able to do something that made the show look really unique and fun. And I'd love to be able to play around with stuff like that myself. People are very open-minded, and I think there's a lot of people from the indie scene and the indie internet scene, I think, that are kind of blazing the way forward. You hear about a lot of these projects where it's like maybe when they take it out to the networks or the streamers, they don't get a bite for whatever reason, and then people go and they make a pilot themselves, and they find fans and they find popularity online, and then all of a sudden I think a lot of these places are realizing the power of the creator as an artist. And what can be very, very frustrating sometimes in adult animation is that sometimes I feel as though the art becomes very secondary, because these shows are kind of like a vehicle for somebody who maybe is just like a comedy writer or like a stand-up or like an actor who does comedy that feels like they're in the mood to make an animated TV show. And then coming on as like an art director, you end up feeling like maybe the art is an afterthought, or like maybe the art is custodial almost to like clean up or like augment something the writers don't really understand.
Because of the digital puppet stuff, a lot of the production pipeline has kind of been wrapped around the advantage of that, which is that you don't need to train people to get things on model or on style. It's like on model and on style by default, and you're just adding the motion to it. One interesting thing about that is it makes animator entry level. You can just start, you know, but it removes the sort of necessity for apprenticeship. If you were to start a show and you want to make it look like your stuff, you'd have to like teach people how to draw your way. Maybe that sometimes scares producers to think that how do you accommodate that in a production pipeline that's built around this assembly line?
Well, it's also a lot of those producers come from live action. So they're just trying to graft on live action pipeline onto animation.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever thought of your shorts in terms of like a prototype? Because I know that you want to turn like Chips into a bigger project.
Yeah, totally. So the intention with Chips at Adult Swim was always that I wanted it to be a show. And when I brought them the project, I was like, hey, I want this to be a show. But what I was really interested in doing was going through smalls first, because there's a lot of power in the accessibility of the internet and finding this grassroots fan base, which is why I'm excited for the shorts to come out soon. The fact that I can, for like a very small budget and a relatively short amount of time, churn out these 4-minute shorts that look like finished television animation, just one person doing them. Or in the second and third episodes, I had some great color assistants helping me out. It is proof producers do sometimes get scared. Networks do sometimes get scared. But that's all it is they're just like a bit scared about it. And then you can go in and be like, I understand why you would feel that way. If you haven't worked on a show like this before, I would be scared too if I was you. But I'm telling you right now, like as the creator and someone that's worked on like a lot of television production, this is doable and it's going to be super cool. And I'm not alone in it now because I have so many amazing friends who have come up through the indie world, all the Green Street guys, and like my buddy Joe Kappa, whose amazing show, How Hot You Clowns, is going to come out in October. And it looks weird as fuck. Like it is super strange and the finished animation looks just like his work and it just really preserves so much of the energy of the original short. So I think that's kind of the power. Shouts out, of course, to Dave Hughes, who runs Smalls, and everybody who works there at Adult Swim helping out on Smalls, because I think it's such a powerful inroad into the industry for independent creators, but also there's such a wide range of stuff that you can find on their YouTube channel. And the fact that it's like Adult Swim is this huge brand, huge, like everybody knows Adult Swim. Everybody grew up watching like Adult Swim, and they are like giving this boost and widening people's horizons in terms of like what they are exposed to. I've been talking to Adult Swim about development for Chips for a TV show. Of course, everything is very up in the air all the time, as it always is with development. But in general, with my shorts, like being out there on the internet, I have 3 development deals for shows that I'm like actively working on. I have one with Amazon and one with Tornante, and it's just been a really great experience. Like, Tornante is Michael Eisner's production company. They made BoJack Horseman and Long Story Short, and they're just super, super, super great. I mean, that's like another example of a place that really wants to create these really thoughtful shows. I would say they're very, very like thoughtful. Mm-hmm. And again, that's really breaking the mold of like what a lot of people expect adult animation to be.
Right. The way I think of it is like you have to make a business case, and when you take that point of view, it's almost like you describing your work becomes going to court and you need to be the lawyer that's defending why you've chosen to do things the way you're doing them. I view it as like a generous act. It's like you're saying, if you can take that empathetic perspective and say, I get that you're scared. You don't know what this is, and your job is on the line if you approve my thing and it goes haywire and it doesn't work, or, you know, like the creators like not able to fulfill their obligation. Because in a way, it's kind of scary to think of we're going to put money behind a creator that needs to be at the center of this, because without that creator, that project can't run. You can't swap it out for someone else. Whereas like, I think a more conventional pipeline, I'll ask for multiple directors. And like, if one is not available anymore, you can swap them out for a new person. So it's like a very... It's weird how everything's circular. It's like going back to the very early days of animation where the creator was integral to the work.
Yeah, totally.
And that makes me think like the defining aspect of this current indie wave is that advocating for yourself as an artist to a bit of like an entrepreneurial aspect of it too, where you're presenting it and you're bringing that creativity that you apply to the work to also the logistical stuff to meet the business part of it halfway and like allay their fears about, is this going to work or not? And that's like a really cool opportunity, and has, I think, been giving artists a bigger stake in the ownership and profit of the work when it goes forward.
100%. And I think my experience working in TV and working with these networks and streamers and executives is that we all love TV. That's why we're all in this industry. And I'm like really happy that I get to work with the people that I work with. And I think sometimes on the artist side, it's easy to like slip into this place. And I think it's also just because a lot of artists kind of just naturally have this as part of their personality, where it's like, oh, nobody like understands like what I'm trying to like achieve here. It's so important to understand that like these people chose to work with you because they're like your allies and they want to help you. And so I think, in my experience, if I disagree with something that the people that I'm working with have said to me, like if I get like a note where I'm just, I'm not so sure about that, it's always something that you can just talk about if you approach it in a way of, these people are my allies. They want to make the best show possible. I want to make the best show possible. Like, our job is to be on the same page. That's what I like about working in TV. I could have taken the road to just continually make my own independent films and go after grant funding and stuff like that. And that's something that I'm like interested in doing potentially in the future. But the reason that I love television is because you get to work with other people. And I love working with the execs. I love working on like a big team. Like a big motivation sometimes, like when I'm feeling kind of down on myself or I'm worried one of my projects won't go through and I'm feeling like, like what's the point? I just think about how great it's going to be when one of my shows gets picked up, and then I can bring all of my former coworkers and all of the super talented people that I know in animation that I know would just kill it. We could just all kill it together, and we could all go back to the, Warner Century City building in Burbank and work together there and just like have fun every day, like making this really, really fun thing. Cause like that's what it should be. I chose to go into this because it's what I love and it's fun. And I love making work with other people.
In terms of a conversation people might be scared of from an executive level, the idea of the dangerous woman is something that I think is so fun. Like you find a way to play with the trope of the hot girl and totally flip it and have her just doing these like acts of violence on people and things, but still being fabulous and just speaking her mind. And I'm wondering like, what's that drive to get that girl out for you?
And Chips is like the high level version
the
of
pinnacle
that.
version.
That's a theme that's been through a lot of your work. Yeah.
Absolutely true. Yeah, I feel like Chip has sort of become this sort of like alter ego of mine. I feel like everybody wishes that they could act like Chip because she just gets to like she sees a problem and she solves the problem immediately by murdering people who deserve to die or beating the crap out of people who deserve it. But she's so unbothered at the same time. And so I think with Chip specifically, I wanted it to be this play on like Coen Brothers movies and Tarantino movies that I love so. I mean, I'm like a really annoying film bro. Like I love Tarantino like a lot. And I just wanted to make something that felt like that in this sort of tongue-in-cheek way that was also riding this wave. I remember I watched Pearl and I loved it. And I was thinking about it more and seeing everybody's response to it and seeing how much it like resonated with people. This like totally deranged person. And I'm not saying that Chip isn't deranged, but in a way, she is very violent, but she's not deranged. She has a very specific idea of why she's so
out
angry.
In the way Pearl is,
right.
Where it's very reactive.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's an example of something that people like. It resonated with people, but again, not to be a bitch, but that's a movie that's made by a man about a mentally ill, hysterical woman, and that's not something that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in like depictions of hysterical women. I mean, I obviously have like complicated feelings about this type of thing, but it's like I, much like literally every single other person, love watching stuff like Breaking Bad and love watching like prestige television about these complicated people. And there's a problem in this industry where there's like, conventional knowledge shows that women don't watch adult cartoons. They're not interested in that type of thing. And so as a result, we're not going to put money towards marketing this show because women aren't going to watch it because they're not a big audience of ours. They don't advertise the show. No one watches it because no one knows it exists. And then they're like, see what I mean? Women don't like this type of thing. But that's what's been really refreshing about working with Amazon. Shouts out Amazon. Shouts out Tom Fields. Shouts out Hannah Settle. Love you guys. Amazon is very, very supportive of me and is very supportive of female creators. And we're seeing really strange stuff being made. I'm saying this as a compliment to Vivian's work, but like Has Been Hotel and her other show that just came out on Amazon, I haven't seen anything else come out in the commercial animation industry that looks like that at all. And it has record viewership. Yeah. And it is absolute proof that the girls and the guys are looking to watch some really weird cartoons. Yeah. And I've never met Vivian, but she directly, through her work with Amazon, opened up the door for them to look for more female creators. Yeah. And so like I owe her a lot, and I owe a lot to all of the rest of the women who've paved the way for me. Thinking about that and thinking about like being here at this festival and getting to talk to so many students who have come and seen Chips play at the screening. Everybody has just been so sweet about it. And I was in animation school, and what I'm going to say is that like most of the people in my class were girls, and they love animation. They want to see this, and they're really, really like pushing for it. And I've had people come up to me and be like emotional because you can feel so defeated sometimes. Like you feel like there's not like a place for you. it's really, really, really important. And it's important to me to like be supportive of younger animators as well, and to come to these festivals and come to the student screenings and get to just like mingle with everybody. You know, it's like this huge range of people who have been in this industry for like 50 years to people who are about to jump out of school and into this huge, terrifying thing to them of the industry at large, and are just looking for like someone to talk to, looking for advice. Now that I'm like a little bit further along in my career, it's nice that I feel like I have something helpful to say to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
It's really fun, in other words.
Yeah. But I'm wondering, what's
Most
fun
to,
you,
yeah.
Maddie Brew?
As a beautiful segue. To
What's most fun to me?
The title question of the
Absolutely.
podcast.
$1 million question.
Yeah, any interpretation. Just as what is the meaning of fun for you, and creatively, or even just things that are going on?
What's fun to me is getting to do whatever I want.
I love that.
And the way that I think about life is like the things that I do are sort of just like a means to an end for me getting to do what I want. Not even necessarily in like a bratty way, but then it's just like, isn't that just all life is? Like you have to have the confidence and the wherewithal to just be like, well, I'm only on this earth for a really short amount of time in the grand scheme of things, so I should just spend the maximum amount of time doing whatever I want all of the time. And for me, a lot of what I want to do is make independent animation, but also make TV shows. But if there's one thing that I learned in the past year, while I was working on regular show and working on Chips at the same time and working on an episode of Off the Air at the same time, and then also working on my Amazon pilot at the same time, my friends came to me and they were just like, girl, you need to go out and do something fun. You are burned out. You are looking like a ghost. You look iron deficient. Like, we need to go to the club. And I was like, you guys, you don't understand. I actually don't have time to go to the club because I have to sit in my garage and sweat. And I have to look at my Premiere file and I have to think about how I need to add more data moshing. And I'm very stressed out. And so that's why I can't go to the club. Do you think I would have a good time at the club right now? Because I'm thinking about animation right now. And they're like, the whole problem is that you can't stop thinking about animation. You're dreaming about animation. You need to do literally any fucking thing else. And that is kind of the thing. If animation disappeared tomorrow, I would be heartbroken. It's my favorite thing in the world. I've dedicated my life to it. I plan on pulling a Hayao Miyazaki and just continuing to make films and TV shows until I die. And then being like, I'm in retirement, but then coming back for another one because I don't think I'll ever be able to stay away from it. So if it disappeared, I would be heartbroken. But guess what? Nobody would die. We're not doctors. You know what I mean? It's like, make it fun.
Yeah.
And if it's not fun, there's no point in doing it.
Find Maddie on Instagram at Brewballs. There you can get caught up with the hot girl adventures of Chip and her cool and sexy friends.
And be sure to check out the Most Fun Patreon for full show notes and bonus episodes.
Hey Spencer, guess what time it is? You don't have a watch on you, but guess what I do? I looked at mine and it says it's listener mail time.
Whoa!
Wow.
Exciting.
I bet you have listener mail.
I have my big bag of listener mail, like a big bag of letters to Santa. Today I have a letter from Gendy.
Whoa.
I wonder if could it be?
Could it be the Gendy? The Gendy of fixed fame?
Let's see what he says. There isn't much here to go off of. All he says, it's a very simple question. Mm-hmm. What are your 3 favorite shows?
Ooh.
Might be fishing for compliments here.
Right, it sure sounds like it.
Yeah. My first one, I can't deny, Dexter's Laboratory.
Absolutely.
I think Dexter's Laboratory is the perfect cartoon in every way. It has great dialogue jokes, great action and gags. It brings so much of the flavor of old Hanna-Barbera cartoons to the table and UPA stuff, but then incorporates anime stuff with the mech warriors and newer influences. Weaves it all together. It feels perfectly at home in that world. The voice of Dexter is one of the best cartoon voices of all time. Perfectly cartoony in the way that I feel there isn't as much of this anymore. I love the feeling that in a cartoon where the story could just end at any point.
Right.
There's this like freedom with a cartoon to just be like, and it's over.
Yeah, you can blah blah it. If you do a cartoony style,
you could go, how did we get out of this crisis? The president shows up and saves us. We get in a helicopter with him. And
it's very improv-like.
Yes,
it's a sketch comedy style.
Very free association.
Yes, yeah, like a dream.
Yeah, and I love how a lot of Dexter's Lab episodes end with unresolved stories.
Right.
It's just like he gets punched in the face and that's how the episode ends. So that's number 1 for me. Number 2 and 3 are Reboot.
Yes.
Canadian classic, one of my favorite things of all time, and Regular Show, a little more recent one, but Regular Show, I think too, it has a lot of that great cartoon energy to it. A lot more character driven for sure.
All right. I've got my listener mail. You want to hear
Your bag isn't quite as big as mine.
No, my bag's tiny. So here's my listener mail. M. Atwood writes, love the pod. My poet friends and I listened to it on a recent birding road trip along the shores of Georgian Bay. My question is, has the Canadian animation industry ever looked outside of itself to find answers to its current creative problems? A lot of this reminds me of the struggle of Canadian writers to assert themselves back in the 60s and 70s. You guys really should look into that.
You have a smaller mailbag, but it is dense.
Right.
With ideas.
Deep.
My guys are just like, what cartoons do you like?
That's right. Yeah.
Yours are actually like bringing solutions to the table to the problems we face in our industry.
Yeah. I call it my literary mailbag.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, what an ironic coincidence seeing that I've been reading. Now, I'm not going to assume this is Margaret Atwood, but I'm going to make an educated guess.
How was it addressed?
M. Atwood.
Okay. Could be a relative.
Yeah, it could be Marge Atwood, cousin.
Yeah.
But if it happened to be the great Margaret Atwood, I'll just say I'm maybe 520 pages into the 600-page autobiography that's about 3 weeks overdue from the library. It's a long book. I'm getting there. But through it, I learned all about the struggles of Canadian writers at that time. And this was around the time also in animation, ironically, where we were also discovering things about ourselves. I think there's a lot of ways that we can look to the past to find solutions. Sometimes I think animation folks, especially Canadian animation folks, I think can be stuck in our own cycles of looking at things that have happened to us like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, like how to deal with a recession, let's say, or the cycles of business going up and down. And this is all great, but we don't have to invent the answers. There are many other fields and creative practices and disciplines that have experienced this. It's just they're further along than we are because they've existed for longer.
Animation is a relatively young art form.
That's right, yeah. And so in her autobiography, she was talking about how Canadian publishing was considered a joke many years ago. And like all these institutions that we know of that fund Canadian literature, like were unheard of. And so it took a very ragtag group of people that just said like, we don't care what anybody thinks. We're going to assert ourselves. We're going to create structures that work for us and build up ourselves. So that they did things like create their own publishing houses. This is where you get like House of Anansi or Coach House Books. And like a lot of these things happened in Toronto specifically. So if you look at that wave of writers that built this infrastructure, it's like night and day between what they used to deal with and what the writing landscape looks like now in Canada. So I just think it's really nice if we go outside of animation in particular to look to other models, because other people have figured this out with great success. That would be my takeaway from the Margaret Atwood mailbag.
I'm glad she sent that letter. It really generated some interesting thoughts. Yeah,
that's right. Thank you,
Thank you for your letter.
Atwood or Marge.
Yeah,
if it's
and
Marge,
guys, people writing me letters, you gotta. That's the bar. I want some more intellectual letters like that.
Yeah, I think you need, let's put it out in the universe. Like all Canadian poets should write to Spencer specifically.
Right. Yeah, send me some poems.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll read them on the podcast.
Yes, we love that.
Yeah. So our next guest.
Yeah, who's our next guest?
Another double guest situation.
Ooh, we love that.
We got Peter Steineck and Michael Van Swearingen, also known as Hellivision Television.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was really cool. I'm a big fan of what these guys are doing in Minneapolis. They really create opportunities for people to get over themselves and make something with these themed animation projects where everyone will make something kind of short in a short time span, and then they'll make this big...
It's like a supercut
of all the different shorts. And my favorite part about it is they'll play them online, but they'll also do local screenings in different cities. And they have ambassadors for Hellivision who will help organize the screenings. And it's really cool way of creating community and highlighting emerging talent in animation. I learned about a lot of really cool people who are now going on to do interesting things because I was watching their stuff over the past few years. And it was really great. The episode ended up just being a oral history of, how they started it and where it's brought them so far.
Yes.
And it was really cool to get that whole story on the record. And we're looking forward to sharing it with you on the next episode.
Yeah. Amazing. Most Fun Podcast is a Most Fun Studio production and a member of the Podcaver Network. This episode was edited by Spencer Moreland with production assistance from Tong Lam and was produced by me, Tabitha Fisher, and Spencer Moreland. Our theme music is by Jazzy Spencer Moreland.
Season 1 of Most Fun Podcast was produced with financial assistance from ASIPA Hollywood's Animation Educators Forum Faculty Grants Program. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and are not affiliated with any institutions, organizations, or employers, including Sheridan College. Thank you for listening to the Most Fun Podcast, and join us next time for even more fun.